Welcome back, Pokemon trainers. Professor Chaz here. The lab coat's on back order. Now for this week's Pokemon Omega Ruby team building video, I'm going to focus on 6 new Pokemon that I haven't used yet in Omega Ruby, previous champions from the X double battles back in the X League, and we're hoping to continue the, we'll call it a streak maybe, of victories, because out of the 9 matches we played thus far on the channel, we won one. Yes, we got a victory. Now I admit it was very lucky. My Sandslash was landing all of his rock slides. His accuracy was boosted from his home claws, but the real luck came in the flinches that we were constantly getting on the opposing Gligar. It came down to that final turn. If we didn't get that last rock slide to connect, or if one of those flinches didn't happen, the Gligar was going to knock out my Sandslash because the toxic damage from my Sandslash was building up. One more turn of that and we were going to lose. So it was a very nail-biter, down-to-the-wire match. Anyway, I'm talking too much about it. If you want to see that, go back and check out last week's video. I completely spoiled the ending, but hopefully you'll still be excited to watch that. Anyway, let's get into this week's Team Builder video and look at the 6 Pokemon we're bringing into this week's Omega Ruby battle. Let's begin. The first Pokemon in this week's team is going to be Smartie the Noctowl. He is a docile Pokemon with the Insomnia ability, so he can't be put to sleep. And he's holding the Flame Orb. Might seem a little bit weird, but if you did see his previous attempt in the Pokemon X League, you'll understand why, and I will explain in a moment. So I went with the more on the defensive side. I got the HP up pretty good. Special defense up to 255, and defense up to 195. Now, normally, as I've said before, I like to even the defenses, but there's a reason he doesn't have as high defense as he does special defense. And you'll see he does have max IV for speed, but we haven't invested into that for the super training. I might consider doing that for a future battle, maybe putting the HP super training into the speed instead. As for the moveset, the only offensive move Smartie has is Hyper Beam, which is same type attack bonus, being normal type. Now, Psycho Shift is the reason he has the Flame Orb, and the reason his defense isn't as high as special. What we plan to do, we're going to allow the Flame Orb to burn Smartie, and then use Psycho Shift to pass that burn off to the opponent. It's going to lower their attack stat, and slowly whittle away at them, and of course it will whittle away at Smartie as well. That's why he has Roost as his final attack. We're going to be able to heal up while we let the burn do its business on the opponent. And Foresight is the last move, or the third move, but final move in Smartie's moveset. In case we're fighting any ghost types, we can use Foresight to make them susceptible to Hyper Beams. So we're going to be able to get some damage off on them as well. The next Pokemon in this week's team, Chirp the Pidgeot. Chirp is a careful Pokemon, which boosts special defense and lower special attack. And eventually, I want to try using Mega Pidgeot. Now, I actually don't have the Pidgeot just yet. I haven't found it in-game, but I would like to have Chirp finally go into Mega form, because I've had Chirp ever since my Kanto days back in the 3rd generation. And the downside is, Mega Pidgeot has a boost to special attack, and sadly, Chirp's careful nature lowers special attack, so it's not going to be the most beneficial, but just for the sake of trying Mega Pidgeot, I want to give it a shot someday. He has the ability of Keen Eye, which means he's not going to lose any accuracy, and he's holding Sitrus Berry. Now, usually I like to have him hold Leftovers, because when we use one of his moves, you'll see his Fly. He can heal up on that turn he's in the air, but we had to give Leftovers to somebody else for this week. So I went with Speed Investment. He's got 271 for Speed, and I evened up his defenses to about 207 or 208, respectively. And the moveset is generally kind of basic. I have Return, which is a good, powerful attack. I think it goes to 102 base power if the Pokemon's at max happiness, and Chirp is at max happiness. So it's a good, powerful return attack. Fly is also good for the stab, and he's going to be able to get a turn of evasiveness on the opponent, which could work well with Smartie's Psycho Shift strategy. While Chirp is in the air using Fly, that's one more turn of burn damage the opponent's going to have to suffer. Now, since sometimes these flying Pokemon can be susceptible to thunders and things like that, we do have Sunny Day on Chirp. It's going to make Thunder very inaccurate, and it's also going to help deal with other weather effects that the opponent might have. Like if we encounter a, say, Drizzle team, we're going to be able to counter that with Sunny Day. And I do have Double Team on there to get some more evasiveness. Again, that works better with the Leftovers being attached, so that if we dodge an attack, he will heal a little bit at the end of the turn. But we're still going to use the Double Team and see how well it does for this week. Third Pokemon for the team, Skippy the Swampert, my original Hoenn starter back in the actual, original Pokemon Ruby. He has a Lax nature, which boosts his defense, lowers special defense, and the ability Torrent is the basic ability that most water starters have. And the item is Rindo Berry. Now, Being a water ground type, Skippy is double weak to grass. We're hoping to sort of offset that with the Rindo Berry, but if they go for a really powerful grass type attack, the Rindo Berry will not really have any effect. We're hoping we're going to be able to survive at least one hit using that berry, however. Now for the super training, we maxed out the attack, and we wanted to even the defenses as much as possible, so we got special defense maxed out as well, put the rest of the HP. Now, I do have the Swampert in my game, but I'm not going to go with the Mega Swampert this week. I might save that for another week at some point. I probably should have considered using it, but to do that, I would want to do some, changing of the super training because of the Mega Swampert ability, Swift Swim. I'd want to put investment into the speed. But for this week, we're going to use Skippy as he is, and this is what he was back in the Pokémon X League. He's got the moveset of Waterfall, which is good for flinching if we can slow the opponent down, which is what we're going to use Bulldoze for. Now, we're going to be able to use Bulldoze, lower the speed of any Pokemon that's touching the ground, and of course flying types will be immune to that. That's what we have Avalanche for as well. If there's a flying Pokemon that we're not going to be able to slow down, then they'll continue to outspeed us. Chances are they can get, if they hit us with a physical attack, or any attack, Avalanche is going to be boosted in power, doing double damage back to that flying type, which is going to be weak to Avalanche, unless its secondary typing resists ice. And the final move is simply Protect. Just wanted to get that on there for, again, if Smarty can get the burn with Psycho Shift, Protect is a good way to keep that burn, whittling the opponent down a little bit between each turn. The fourth Pokemon for this week will be Arbok. Now, he is a hardy Pokemon, which doesn't boost or decrease any stats. And he has Intimidate, which will lower the opponent's attack. And more often than not, you're not going to see Arbok holding anything other than the Black Sludge. The only time I might switch it if it's him and my Venusaur on a team together. But Black Sludge is going to heal back Arbok a little bit every turn. He does have max IV for speed, so we did max out the super training for that. And I wanted to put the defenses at a decent amount, so we got 226 in special. Not as much in the physical, because he is going to lower the physical attack of the opponent, as well as Smarty's Psycho Shift with the burn is going to make our team a little bit more physically defensive anyway. So the moveset is the same as it was before. The idea with Arbok, we want to try to use the last two attacks, Stockpile and Double Team. Get up the defenses, get up the evasiveness, and then start using Toxic on the opponent. We're going to let the Toxic do its job. It's going to slowly wear the Pokemon down, and if Arbok can, tank some hits with Stockpile or dodge some hits with Double Team while healing up with the Black Sludge, the Toxic will eventually take its toll on the enemy. Now, what do you do against Steel types? They're immune to Toxic. Fortunately, thanks to the 4th generation, Arbok became able to learn Fire Fang. So I used a Heart Scale to teach him Fire Fang from the Move Tutor. We can't poison the opponent, but we can at least get some super effective damage on some Steel types and possibly get a burn or some flinching. So the 5th Pokemon for this week's team is Buukemon, the Hariyama. He is a lonely Pokemon, which isn't the worst nature for this kind of a Pokemon to have. It's not the best. Adamant, of course, is the best for any physical offensive Pokemon you want to go with. But Lonely's pretty good. It does boost the attack stat at the cost of lowering defense. Adamant would be an attack boost while lowering special attack, and that's probably the better one. So his ability is Guts, which means his attack, I believe, doubles if he has a status condition, and he's going to gain that status condition thanks to the Toxic Orb that he's holding. Usually, I prefer to have him hold the Flame Orb, because Toxic Orb is the badly poisoned effect. It's going to gradually increase in HP loss every turn, whereas Flame Orb doesn't, and Guts ignores the attack drop of the burn from Flame Orb. However, this week he does have the Toxic Orb because we want to use Smarty's Psycho Shift. So he is maxed in the super training for attack, and I got his defenses up to about 160 apiece, trying to even them out. And his moveset is, he's got Thunder Punch, which is going to be good against any flying types that he's weak to, and the idea is hopefully we can use Thunder Punch and paralyze the opponent, at which point Smelling Salts becomes double damage, and it does cure them of paralysis, but we're going to get a boosted attack of Smelling Salts off if the opponent is paralyzed. Now, he did have Payback at one point, but I have replaced it, probably permanently, with Knock Off. I've found that knocking off the opponent's items in a Wi-Fi battle is very beneficial, because as you know, as I'm explaining for my own Pokemon, giving them held items is going to boost their effectiveness. You want to get rid of your opponent's items if possible. So he does have Knock Off for that purpose. Also to deal with any ghost types that he might not be able to hit for, very good damage. And Fake Out is always a good move to have on whenever Pokemon can learn it. Especially in cases where, for example, this week, we're going to try to get some burns on the enemy. We can Fake Out the opponent and cause them to flinch, That's going to be a lost turn for them, just an additional turn of burn damage, slowly bringing those Pokemon down. Final Pokemon for this week's team is going to be Sailor the Musharna. Sailor is a relaxed Pokemon, which is a defense boost while lowering speed, which is perfectly fine for this, because Musharna are not known to be fast to begin with. And she is going to be more on the defensive side, as you'll see from her moveset. Now, she does have Synchronize, so that if the opponent hits her with a special condition, she will pass that back to the opponent. And she's holding the leftovers, which is why Chirp doesn't have it this week, because since she's on the defensive side, it'll be good for her to slowly gain back some more HP. So, the super training, I maxed out the defenses, got some more into the HP to sort of get that a little bit to a little higher level than what it was before. Now, her moveset, she is using the Dazzling Gleam attack, which is going to be good against any dark types that she's weak to. And she does have Yawn, which is kind of going to, work counteractively towards the Psycho Shift burn. But anything that we can't happen to burn, we're going to be able to put to sleep with Yawn. Once that Pokemon is asleep, we can then use Nightmare as a pretty steady HP drain. It's going to drain away 1/4 of the opponent's max HP every turn that they stay asleep. And for healing purposes, in addition to the leftovers, Sailor does have Moonlight, getting back half of her own HP when she uses it. So that is the team of 6 Pokemon I'm bringing into this week's Pokemon Omega Ruby Double Battles. They're going to go up on the channel tomorrow, so please come on back and check that out, and hopefully we get some victories. We're currently, I think it's we're at 1 win and 8 losses so far, which is very unfortunate. But I am still trying to learn a little bit more about Wi-Fi battling, so hopefully I've learned something that I can take into next week or tomorrow's battles. So come on back and check out those battles if you like, and leave a comment down below. Let me know if you use any of these kind of a Pokemon, which kind of movesets and super training do you go for your particular Pokemon. And hopefully we can all learn together. Alright, thank you for checking out this team building video, and come on back tomorrow for the battles. Until then, I'll catch you next time.